Hi, Kim here again, and this video is on percentage increase, percentage decrease, and reverse percentages. So, lots to do on this one. Buckle up. So, my intention on this video is to show you an easy system to be able to work out percentages. But just before we do that, I need you to understand a couple of things. So first of all, when we're increasing by a percentage, so we're actually going up by a percentage, and a typical example of that is VAT. So we might have a price that is X VAT. Let's just say, we'll make it really easy here and say something costs £100 and that is without VAT. And then we're adding VAT at 20%. So what you need to understand is £100 is all of it, or 100% of our money, if you like, or the cost. But then we're going to add 20%. So what we are looking for is 120% of my original amount, which was £100. This will all become clear. And the other thing is when we are decreasing by a percentage. So again, let's say something costs £100. It's in a sale, it costs £100, and then they're saying 30% off. So in other words, we are not paying for 30%. What we are paying for is 70%. So in this case, we would find 70% of the amount, which is, as we decided to put £100 on this particular instance. So when we are increasing by percentage, we do 100% plus the increase. And when we are decreasing, we take that reduction off of 100%. Let's have a look at some, and then hopefully it will make sense. Okay, so Brian earns £32,000 a year and he's due to get a salary increase of 3%. So how much does Brian earn per year after his salary increase? So the way that I want to show you how to do this is that we are going to put in what we know. So what we know is at the moment 100% of Brian's salary is 32,000. That's what we know. And what we want to know is what 103% of his salary will be. Now, if you've watched the video on direct proportion, this will make sense to you. If you haven't, go with the flow because you'll pick it up very easily. So what we do is we divide by the number above and then we multiply across. So we do 103 divided by 100. We always divide by the number above, multiply across, and then we will end up with 32,960. So 103% gives you 32,960. Easier. Okay, let's look at a reduction and see if this makes sense. So a TV in a shop costs £750. So what we are going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is percentage and pounds. I'm going to say that 100%, so the full price of the TV is £750. Now it is reduced by 45%. Therefore, 100% take away 45%, we are paying for 55%. So what I want to know is how much am I going to pay? How much is 55% of my original price? So I divide by the number above, I multiply across, and I will end up with £412.50. And that's how much I'm going to pay for the TV in the sale. Bargain. Love a bargain. Okay, let's try another one. So again, let's start with this. What do we know? Well, we are looking at percentages and money again. So a dining table and chairs is set. A dining table and chairs set is on sale in a shop. The dining room set costs £975 at full price. So 100% of the cost, the normal cost is £975. Now, in a sale, it's reduced by 16%. So we are not paying for 16%. Therefore, we are paying for 84%. Now, do you remember what to do? Divide by the number above, multiply across, and you should get £819. So with 16% off, we are paying for 84%, which is £819. How are you getting on with this now? Okay, your turn. Fred bought a house for £245,000. 4 years later, he sold the house and made a profit. So we're increasing it by 18%. So we're going to end up with 118%. So pause the video and have a go and see if you can actually work out how much he is going to sell the house for in 4 years later. Okay, how did you get on? So what do we know? Percentage, pounds. We know that 100% was 245,000. We've now got 118%. So 118% would have meant that we ended up with 289,100. Is that the answer you got? If so, you're doing really well. Okay, these are now coming thick and fast. So a carton of drink contains 660 ml of drink. Okay, so this time we've got percentage and mil. What do we know? Okay, what do we want to know? So there is a special promotion pack with 20% extra in the carton. So we're increasing by 20%, so we're getting 120%. How much is the carton with the special offer? Pause the video, see if you can answer it, and come back and we'll look at it together. Okay, so what we know is 100% is 660 mil. Okay, so that's mil. Right, and we want 20% extra, so we're going for 120%. Divide by the number above, multiply across, and you will end up with 792 mil in your special offer carton. Is that what you got? Okay, can you do this one without too much help from me? So Carol bought a car for 22,500. The car depreciates. So that means it goes down in value by 25%. So we are not paying for 25%. How much is the car worth now? Pause the video, see if you can answer the question, and come back and we'll do it together. Okay, how did you get on? So we know that percentage, and we're dealing with pounds again. So 100% of the car, the original price of the car was 22,500. It's depreciating, going down by 25%. So it is now only worth 75% of the original value. So we divide by the number above, we multiply across, and we will end up with 16,875. Give yourself a huge pat on the back if you got that right, and well done. So let's try and play with some big numbers then. So in 2025, the population of the country is 77 million. The population is expected to increase by 8% in the next 3 years. What will the population be in 2028 if the prediction is correct? So it is expected to increase by 8%. Pause the video and see if you can answer this one without my help. Okay, what did we know? So percentage and people, what we knew is that 100% at the moment in 2025 is 77 million. Okay, and we want to know what 108% is. Divide by the number above, multiply across, and you should come up with 83,160,000. So 83,160,000 if the population increases by 8%. How are you getting on with this? Good, isn't it? Okay, so this one is a little bit more challenging, and the hint here is take it one step at a time. So Guy purchased some stocks and shares for £2,800. A year later, the share price had increased by 5%. Another year on, and the share price has decreased from the previous year by 3.5%. What is the current value of Guy's shares? Okay, so remember, you're increasing to start with, and then you're decreasing the next time. So have a go and see where you end up. Okay, let's try and look at this together and see how you got on. So what we know, percentage and pounds, what we know is that 100% was 2,800. It increased by 5%, so 105%. Divide by the number above, multiply across, and you get 2,940. So a year later, he had 2,940, but shares can go down as well as going up. So at this point, our 100% is now 2,940, but it's going down by 3.5%. So therefore, we are looking for 96.5%, okay, because we've lost 3%. So divide by the number above, multiply across, and we will end up with £2,837 and 10p. Okay, which is £37 and 10p more than we started with. But hey, that's the risk of dabbling with shares, I guess. How did you get on with that one? Because it was a little bit more tricky. Okay, so we're now moving on to actual past paper questions. So Asha often goes swimming at Upton Leisure Centre. She pays £5.20 each time she swims. Next month, the price will increase by 12.5%. How much more will Asha need to pay for each swim? Give your answer in pence. So have a go and come back once you've done it and we'll look at it together. Okay, how are we getting on? So what we know, again, we have got percentage and pounds, and we know that 100% at the moment is £5.20. But we are going to end up paying 112.5%. So divide by the number above, multiply across, and you will end up with £5.85. So how much more will Asha be paying for each swim? Well, she's going to be paying 65 pence extra. Okay, well done if you got that right. Okay, this is the second part of that question and worth another 2 marks, but it is a little bit tricky. So let's just be careful with this one. So £5.20 is 30% more than the price at Downton Leisure Centre, and we want to know what the price at Downton Leisure Centre is. So this is actually a reverse percentage. So have a little think about this, and we've still got percentage and pounds, and what we know is that 130% is £5.20. What we want to know is what is 100%. So the price at Downton Leisure Centre we're saying is 100% because this is the Downton Leisure and 30%. So we do the same thing. we divide by the number above and we multiply across, and that will take you to Downton Leisure Centre. Has a price of £4 per swim. So £4 is the answer that you're looking for, but this is a reverse percentage. So we are going to look at some more reverse percentages in a minute, but in the meantime, this is a percentage increase. So pause the video and see if you can work out how long the longest knitting needles in the world are. How did you get on? Some fascinating facts that come out of this, isn't there? Right, let's have a little look. So this time we've got percentage and we've got meters, okay? So we know that 100% was 3.98 meters. We've now got 11% more, so 111%, divide by the number above, multiply across, and you will end up with 4.4178 meters. That's one heck of a long knitting needle. How did you get on? Okay, so this time we are going to have to work out the mean. So the table shows the information about the weekly wage of 40 workers. And important, if you haven't watched my video on mean, this is the important number in the question. Okay, so once we've worked out the mean, we need to increase the wage by 4% and then add £10. And Jim thinks that the new weekly wage of these workers will be more than £415. Is Jim correct? So pause the video, have a go, and then come back and we'll look at it together. Okay, so when we are doing mean from a table, it's not a grouped frequency table. We've just literally got numbers, not sort of 300 to 320. It's just 320. So we don't need to find a midpoint. We just need to multiply across and get a total. So 320 times 10. So we multiply everything across, and you will end up with 3,200, and then 370 times 13 is 4,810. 420 times 8 is 3,360. 470 times 7 is 3,290. And 520 times 2 is 1,040. Now, we add all these up and we come to 157,000. So on average, 15,700. So we divide that by the number in the question. So we divide that by 40 and we will end up with £392.50. So on average, okay, so they're actually earning between 320 and 520. Okay, but most of them are in here in this kind of 370 category. So that is a sensible answer. So first things, always ask yourself, is that a sensible answer? Yep, looks sensible to me. Okay, so what we know is that 100% at the moment is £392.50. We want to increase by 4%, so 104%, divide by the number above, multiply across, and you will get £408.20. And then we need to add £10, so we will end up with, so plus £10 gives me £418.20. Now, Jim thinks that the new mean weekly wage will be more than £415. Yes, Jim is correct. Well done, Jim. Okay, but were you correct? Well done if you got that right. If you struggled with mean, go watch the video that I've done on mean. Okay? Okay, so this was a pretty evil question. So I'm going to show you how to do it with and without a calculator. So with a calculator, we use the same system. David reads this advert on a county council website. 70% of the area of woodland in the county is native woodland. This means there are 350 square kilometres of native woodland in the county. So let's just see how we would do this using the system that I've shown you. So percentage and kilometres squared. Now, what we know is that 70% is 350. What we want to know is what is the area in the whole country, county, whichever. Okay, so we still divide by the number above, multiply across, and you will end up with 500 kilometres squared. Now, if you didn't have a calculator, think about it like this. We know that 70% is equal to 350 kilometres. So what do we think 10% is? Okay, so to get from 70 to 10, I divide by 7. So I'm going to do the same here, divide by 7. And if 350 divided by 7 would give you 50 kilometres squared. Okay, so if 10% is 50, then 100% would be 10 times that. So 100% would be 500 kilometres. So sometimes easier to think of it like this. If you can look for a graph that looks something like this. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we've got 10 parts. Each of those is worth 10%. So each of these is 10%. And what we know is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 70%. So up to here, so 70% is 350 kilometres squared. So if we split that by the 7, then you will find that each 10% is worth 50. Yeah, so each one is worth 50. And this is the same. Okay, 10% is 50, but 10% here is also 50. So all of these is 50, and 10 times 50 will give you 500. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea how to work it out with and without a calculator. Okay, let's give this a try. So Dec needs to pay £908.64 each month for his mortgage and other bills. This is 45%. So what we know, percentage and pounds, we know that 45% is 908.64. So it's always, what do I know? Okay, so we want to know what his monthly income is. So what is 100%? So pause the video, work it out, come back and tell me in a second. So what did you get? Divide by the number above, multiply across, gives me his monthly income is £2,019.20. Hopefully we're all agreeing on that. So finally, what I wanted to do is just do a few more of these reverse percentages just to make sure that you've got this. Okay, so in this particular case, we've got a garage sold 25% more cars than last year. The number it sold this year was 120. Okay, so effectively, we want to know what the original number was. So it sold 25% more cars than last year. Okay, that's this year they sold that. So what did they sell last year? Okay, so what we've got is percentages and cars, and what we know is 125%, okay, because that's 25% more, okay, was 120. All right, so 125% gave me 120 cars. So we want to know what the original number was before we added the 20%, or before we multiplied by 25%, if we're being posh about it. So have a little go and see if you can work out how many cars there were last year. How did you get on? Okay, so we still do the same system, don't we? So we are dividing by the number above, we're multiplying across, and there were 96 cars sold last year. Okay, so we're going back by 25%. Now, what you can't do is find 25% and take it off. Okay, that would give you the wrong numbers. So please make sure that you are doing it this way or with a similar system. Okay, this one's quite tricky, so make sure you think about it. In a sale, the cost of a sofa was reduced by 65%. So think about what percentage you are paying for. And that sale price was £420. What was the original price before the sofa was reduced? So make sure you think about it, have a go, pause the video, come back when you've got an answer. Okay, let's look at this together. What do we know? I'm a great believer in what do we know. Okay, so pounds, we're going to do percentage and pounds. So what we know is reduced by 65%. So 420 is 35% of the cost, because here is my sofa. Okay, and should we put some arms on it as well? There you go. Okay, so arms on our sofa. We are not paying for 65%. It is reduced by 65%. We are not paying for 65%. So we are only paying for the right hand side of the sofa, which is 35%. Okay, one cushion. And 35% was £420. So what we want to do is find the original price, which was the original 100%. So to do this, we divide by the number above, multiply across, and you should come back to £1,200 if you've done that correctly. So first of all, bargain, £420 for a £1,200 sofa. And secondly, if you got that right, you did really, really well. Okay, so this is the last slide. Gosia runs a business. She needs to buy a new laptop and she sees this advert. The cost of the laptop is £1,599.99, and that includes VAT at 20%. So she needs to work out how much VAT she is paying on the laptop. So calculate the VAT. Have a go. See how you get on and come back with an answer. Okay, so there are several ways that we could have gone about this. So let's see how we did. So what do we know? Okay, so everything is about what do we know. So percentage pounds. Well, we know that 120%, which is with the VAT, so 120% is £1,599.99. Now, what we could have done is worked out 100%, divide by the number above, multiply across, and you'd have got something like 1333.325, I think. If you take one from the other, okay, so you will then end up with the VAT at 266.665 or something along that line. Okay, so, but you could have done it a different way. So again, it's a quicker way. So we know that 120% is 1599.99. What we want to know is what 20% is. So we could just work out 20%. Same way, divide by the number above, multiply across, and you will come out with 266.66. So it's just a slightly better way of doing it, but it's up to you. Hopefully this system has helped you. It is percentage is a type of direct proportion. So if you haven't watched the video yet on direct proportion, you will see just how many ways that this system can be used for direct proportion. Okay, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today, and hopefully I will see you in another video. Take care. Bye-bye.